So, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. This episode we're not doing anything exciting. I mean, I'm oiling cutting boards and Kara's doing pottery stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not listening to us.
Oh, I didn't know I had to.
No, she doesn't have to talk. You don't have to talk, it's okay.
Let her talk now, huh?
You won't let her talk.
But I'm oiling cutting boards and that is a boring thing to do. Stop buying cutting boards, everybody.
No, don't tell them that.
Make them eat the fish.
That pays that booth fee, you go.
Make them eat the fish.
But since I'm doing something boring, I thought I would share a story of my childhood again. For some reason, I've been thinking about playground equipment. When I was growing up, I started kindergarten like 1983. So this is like 1983 to like 1987 type playground equipment. And I guess I'm thinking about it because every time we're driving, there is a tube. I call it a tube place. But they make lots of concrete tubes for drainage and overpasses and structural columns. Back when I was growing up, that wasn't for roads and construction. That was playground equipment. So one of the things I remember the most is on the playground, we had 3 concrete tubes. So there was 2 on the bottom, 1 on the top, in a triangular formation. They were about 6 feet long, and that's what we played in as kids, concrete tubes. And they wonder why, things like the Goonies and Stranger Things are popular. That's what they trained us to do. They trained us, hey, here's a dark place, go in it.
One-eyed women, admit it, you just wanted to be a kitty, and those were massive kitty cities.
Yeah, that was before kitty cities were cool, everybody. But we would play in those concrete tubes. They were only maybe like 3-4 feet tall. As a little kid, they're your height. And I remember one time I was standing on top of the concrete tube and we had a big rubber playground ball. And these are the same kind of balls that had the waffle pattern. So when we played dodgeball and it pegged you in the head, you have a waffle imprint of where that ball hit you.
That's how I got my stitches.
It's real, I'm not making this up.
It was a good gusher. I remember that. My glasses flew off across the floor and everything. Sorry, anyway.
But I was on the playground tube and we had one of these big balls. I put it right underneath. You know what's a good idea? I'm gonna jump off this concrete tube right on that ball. And I did. But as far as my little brain went, that's the only plan I had. Jump off, land on the ball. But I didn't know anything about physics and science, so I hit the ball as I jumped down. I didn't know I would rappel back up.
Oh God.
And it was...
You weigh like what, 50 pounds?
I was like a little baby, yeah, just a little thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't just jump straight down and go up, I jumped down at an angle on it, so then I repelled upward at an angle, and so I came shooting back up at the concrete tubes, except not straight up at an angle. And of course, when you're a little kid and you jump off a concrete tube onto a big red ball, you get thrown on that concrete tube head first. So,
That's what happened.
picture this. I jump off the concrete tube onto the red ball, hit first. And then I repel back upwards at about a 30-degree angle, and I just crack my head on that very top of that concrete tube. And
On the inside of the lip of the tube or the outside?
we're on the outside.
Okay.
You can't jump on the inside of the tube.
I thought the tube was up high
No.
and you crawled in it and jumped down. Okay.
No, I was on the outside of the tube, jumping downwards, repelling back upwards, cracking my head, and that was recess. And what do you do as a little kid? You just sit there, hold your head. Ah.
Recess is not for the weak.
Yeah, and then what do you do when it's all done? You tell your friends to do it.
Fucking do it again.
Yeah, do it again, everybody.
Man, you can bleep that
So for some reason, whenever I see concrete tubes, I think of those playground tubes because I cracked my head open on it. 80s, everybody, get some.
Were you bleeding?
No, I wasn't bleeding.
Oh, okay.
My head was still, okay, see the size of my head now? That's how big it was when I was a kid.
That's why you wear a do-rag. You gotta hold everything in. Oh,
Yeah.
you're like is it Invader Zim with the brain?
What are you talking about?
There's a cartoon where it's just a big brain, or is that Ninja Turtles?
That's Ninja Turtles and Kraid.
There.
Or
You're
Krang.
Kraid.
That's Krang.
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 That's you. You gotta get your do-rag with that on it.
So that was my introduction to playground equipment. Another fun playground equipment thing we had, we had the merry-go-rounds, but there was one, it was just a small merry-go-round, a steel post in the middle and 2 metal handles coming out, and it was meant for 2 people. That's it, that's all you could fit on there was 2 little kids. And the thing we did is you'd get on it, you'd grab your merry-go-round, and it's just maybe 4-foot diameter circle tops, and you would just kick and run in a circle and jump on it, and if your butt was out, you'd go slow, but if you suck your butt in, you'd go faster.
Here's your physics.
Yeah, so that was Physics 101. Butt out slow, butt in fast.
Oh, somebody's gonna take that out of context.
Whatever you want, you sickos. Get your jollies from my nostalgic trip down memory lane.
Your little kid trauma.
But that was our little merry-go-round that we played on, and we usually did that and went as fast as we could until somebody flew off. I was with one of my friends, his name was Billy. We were on that and we were having just a blast, just going as fast as we can, flying off into the, and understand, we didn't have like the recycled tires. We had gravel. If we were lucky, we had grass. But chances are it was a gravel pit that the merry-go-round was on. So we were flying off of that into the gravel, and of course you jump back on, do it again. But he was having so much fun, and you know, he didn't want to let go. He said, I'm gonna pee my pants. He was laughing so hard. So I'm just like, I'm gonna get this guy to pee his pants. Keep in mind, I'm single digits. That's what's going through my little twisted head. I'm gonna get my friend to laugh so hard, he's gonna piss his pants. So we're going on the merry-go-round. We're going. And he's yelling, I'm gonna pee. And it's like nobody really believes him. And he pissed his pants on the merry-go-round. Little merry-go-round, butt out, go slow, butt in, go fast, and pee your pants. I vividly remember that because he peed his pants. And what happens when your best friend pees his pants?
The pee goes flying.
Well,
'cause you have
maybe.
centrifugal force.
We just point and laugh. That's all we did back then.
Well, how old were you?
6, 7.
Oh boy. Okay. Again,
Pee your pants.
little kid.
I guess for us growing up in the early 80s, the most dangerous and well-known playground equipment we had was the jungle gym. And we had a couple of jungle gyms. One was just a series of metal bars about 5 feet high, and you would just go from one to the other. That was it. But then we had another jungle gym where it was about 12 foot by 12 foot by, I would say, 8 to 10 feet tall. And it was essentially like Cubert except steel poles. So it was like a jungle gym in the shape of a cube, and all the cubes were about 1 foot. So in addition to just being one big cube on the outside, there's lots of little cubes on the inside.
Is anybody gonna get your Cubert reference?
If not, you know, I'd probably put a clip in it for you nerds out there. But it was just a bunch of steel metal cubes in the form of another giant cube. And the rule was you climb up it and then down through it, and in any way you can because they're metal cubes. So of course, why wouldn't you climb it? So when I'm thinking about it, it's like this was a steel metal cube with lots of other metal cubes. Kids would climb up to the top, lose their grip, and fall down like a pachinko chip on The Price is Right. It's like, and I never thought there was anything wrong with that growing up.
Again, how old were you?
Again, like single digits, under 10.
You don't even have memories yet.
Oh my God, just, I think about that and it's like, we just played on steel bars where if you lost your grip and fell, you'd be breaking bones constantly. And then the teachers wouldn't be able to get you out because they didn't fit in the jungle gym. It was a monkey cage is what it was.
Is it kind of like the Running Man? Set yourself up for death?
Maybe that was the teacher's version of the Running Man. They have all these horrible devices that say, oh, these are for you to play on. And they're just hoping one of us dies so their job's just a little bit easier during recess.
Did you think that ever as a teacher?
Me? I didn't have recess. I taught big kids. But I can kind of understand what the teachers were thinking. Sitting there doing recess duty in the 80s, having a cigarette, watching us kids fall into a jungle gym, scrape our knees, fly off our pants, and they're probably thinking, I hope this kid dies, never comes back. You don't know that.
I do, because I played on the same
So that was the jungle gym. So I like to call it the cage of death. And the other jungle gym, which I said was just metal bars, that was just I think it was just designed to tire you out. Because you were supposed to climb up to it, hang from metal bars. Except this one actually had wood chips on it, so we thought we were fancy celebrities. But when you fell, they're jagged wood chips. When you were hanging from it as a kid, your feet didn't touch the ground. And if you fell a long way. And it was, I guess, it's designed to build hand strength, coordination, survival of the fittest, who knows?
Your Ninja Warriors, your facial layers.
It was kind of like Ninja Warrior back then. Except with dire consequences. I remember hanging from it one day. And you're just hanging from it because it's like, hey, look what I can do. I can just hang here. And that was the fun back then. I'm sorry, everybody, we're boring. But that was the fun. You hang from it. And then one of my buddies came and he pushed me. And he, not vindictive or anything, just to want to see, hey, I'm going to make this guy swing. It'll be fun. Except I didn't know he was going to push me, so he pushes me. I fly upwards, still hanging onto the bars. But of course, I let go, and then you fall right on your back about 5 feet up, pop the air out of you, and you're just sitting there. And all your friends are just sitting there. What's wrong with him?
Not breathing?
Never once has a teacher ever checked in on us as we're doing all this stuff that just destroys our bodies.
That's because you have young spines.
But I vividly remember being pushed, flying upward, losing my grip, falling on my back, air popped out of me, thinking I'm gonna die. And this is recess. This is the fun part of the day, everybody.
And
when you
was
grow
it-
up in the 80s. And this is all, of course, if you could make it down the stairs, because our old elementary school was 4 stories, a 100-year-old brick building with metal stairs, metal open back stairs, everybody. So we had to get through that just to get outside and play on gravel and concrete tubes.
I'm old and I'm not.
I'm old and I'm not happy.
My name's Beau, I'm gonna.
But the most fun you could have as a kid growing up in the 80s is you had the swings.
Yes.
I don't know what swings look like now because I don't look this stuff up, but our swings were 2 chains, no plastic on the chains, just rusty chains, and a seat. And the seat was just a black piece of leather. That was it. And the swings were meant for us elementary kids all the way up to middle school, so like 8th grade. So they made the swings tall for the bigger kids, but the little kids went on it too. And as a little kid, you go on a swing and you just kind of rock back and forth, and then you learn to pump with your legs and you get higher and higher. But then you plateau. So then you get a buddy and you say, hey, push me. And they learn to push you and you can go higher and higher. And then once you get advanced, you get the underduck.
Yes.
And for those older people up there like me, you know what an underduck is. If you don't know what an underduck is, you're sitting in the swing and somebody's pushing you and you're going back and forth, and the guy, he's pushing you, he's coming back and he's pushing you, but then you get some momentum and he goes and he pushes you and then he runs under you because that's how much momentum you went. So he went underneath you as he pushed, and that's an underduck. And that made you go really high, really fast. And then you learn how to pump with your feet.
Would you ever get so high that the slack would go out of the chains and you'd freak out?
Yeah, because
And then it would jerk on the way down?
yeah, we tried to get over the top of the bar,
Right.
try to do a full revolution.
Right.
Like Kara says, the slack would come out and you kind of fall down and then keep swinging.
That's a little unnerving as a little kid.
It is, and as a little kid, you think, hey, this is fun. I'm gonna try it again.
Hey, do it again.
But then we learned how to jump off. So we would jump off, except we didn't really know how to jump off as you're going forward, so you would jump off and keep going. The first time we jump off, it would be at the apex of the curve, and we would jump, but we would just simply fall straight down like 8 to 10 feet. And then you sit there, whine and cry because everything hurts. So then what do? You do it again. It's fun. And then we would eventually figure out, oh, as we're progressing, then we jump off. And then that was our game. We wanted to see who could jump the highest and the furthest. So that was a game in the 80s, people. We would go on a swing and see who could jump through the air.
You're an angry
That was the game. Who can jump through the air the fastest and the furthest? It's like, people might think we're crazy, but when you think about it, it's like you were betting each other in single digits that you could jump farther, that you could fly through the air, and there's no consequences for it. Like I said, the teachers were all sitting there by the door having a cigarette, watching us kill ourselves.
You're a little vindictive, aren't you?
Well, when you think about it, it's like you would never do that nowadays. Never.
See, we did that on the farm all the time and we had no supervision.
Oh my God.
You're just out, and the only people that, or the only living thing that saw you were some cows.
The worst thing that could happen to you besides gravity poisoning is the swings, like I said before, were just changed in a piece of leather. And we learned, okay, hurting ourselves flying through the air isn't fun enough. We want to get so dizzy that we vomit. So we'd sit on a swing and then somebody would sit there and turn us. And this change of the swing would get tighter and tighter. And then when they let go, you'd sit there and you'd spin violently.
Unless it pinches you.
Oh, that's where I'm going with this. See, she knows.
Sorry.
She's a Gen Xer. She knows where this is going.
That hurts like
But I vividly remember somebody twisted me on the swings and you're hanging on to the chains, but you don't know about pinch points yet. So then the chains get closer and closer and the links start twisting and they pinch your finger. I vividly remember the chain pinching my finger and just ripping a chunk of my thumb out. And you can't let go because you're spinning at an incredible rate and you're bleeding and screaming everywhere. That's recess.
You're like a weird Al.
That's recess in the 80s. Flying through the air, landing on your head, making people pee their pants and bleeding. Come on, everybody! Ah! So if you young kids out there, if you have parents in their 40s and you know why they're angry all the time, oh Jesus, they're thinking about all their childhood trauma.
I wonder if they're angry. You're just angry.
Now you know, everybody.
Again, I'm old.
I'm old and I'm not happy because I had trauma on the playground. But those were playground equipments growing up. Equipments,
Like
yes.
the foods, libraries.
There's another one. This wasn't at the school. There was a park nearby. When I mean nearby, everything's nearby because it was a town of like.
You were a town. You were a pampered town kid with no farm chores.
No farm chores.
Pampered.
True. But we would go to the park, and they had a big playground. The playground was all made of wood. You'd climb up a wooden bridge, and then you go across another wooden bridge that was just logs hooked together, so it was kind of like a snake bridge. Whenever you jump on it, the other side goes up and down. I mean, very Nintendo-ish, like Castlevania type stuff. And then you'd climb up more wooden stairs and you would get to the tornado slide. And if you don't know what a tornado slide is, a normal slide goes like this. Tornado slide. It goes straight down in a circular pattern. And we would run up there, go down, run up there, go down. Well, when winter came, we learned about friction. And we learned that snow decreases friction on metal surfaces. Because we all did the thing in the Christmas story where you lick a pole in the winter because you don't know.
Stupid.
Yeah, we all did it, but
I did.
I did.
It was cold enough in the barn. I found out what happened when metal got cold.
But we would throw snow down the tornado slide because the stuff wasn't shoveled off. You would just want to make a path. You take snow, throw it down a slide, and you would whip down that thing fast.
Whip? Watch me.
Watch me whip. But we would go down fast, and then we're like, hey, this isn't dangerous enough. Let's both jump on it at the same time. So we would sit there and we'd grease it up with snow, chuck snow down it. Me and my buddy, we both jumped on it at the same time. And it's not enclosed, it's just a half moon piece of metal that is in a corkscrew fashion. We both jump in it, and the next thing I remember, I'm at the bottom of the slide at one of the support posts, and the support post was just a big chunk of wood, like Old Navy pier dock. I woke up and my head is right next to it. And my friend's just sitting there shaking me awake. And I'm like, what happened? And he's like, we both jumped in, but he was heavier than me. And he hit and he squirted me out the side, and I fell about a story and a half and clucked my head on that pier and knocked myself out. I don't remember that. I just remember waking up. And then when you're a little kid, he's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. Nothing hurts? Because we had a big wool stocking cap on with the ball on top, and I guess that absorbed the impact.
You bounce.
And what did we do after I found out I was knocked out? We did it again. And it was fun. And you need to try it. You go outside, you get hurt, you do it again. We couldn't complain about anything either. So you know, if we complained about it, we were told, suck it up. Rub some dirt on it. Quit being a baby.
You know, times have changed a bit.
They have. And Kara couldn't complain because if she did, her older brother would beat the shit out of her.
Well, even if I did.
Even if she was fine, he would still pummel her. That's why she's so tough. Her older brother is 4 years older. So when she's in 4th grade, he's in 8th grade. She'd be dead.
He says you can thank me, and I'm like,
So there you go, everybody. That is us reminiscing about playground equipment. So if you watch movies like The Goonies or anything from the 80s, or listen to stories of your parents and how hard it was back then, it's true. Last time I was on a playground is when I was a teacher. They had recycled rubber mats that they ran on.
yeah, because they figured out.
And
how
it was
to
bouncy, and they would bounce off it, and they were having fun. Nobody was screaming. It was weird. It's like they should be in pain, pulling out slivers. Old and not happy, everybody. But anyways, the cutting boards are almost done. So just in case you wanted to know what I was doing, here's before, here's after. So boring, sexy. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this stupid little video of us working and telling stories about our childhood and all the trauma and head concussions that we had growing up.
Well, more you than me.
More me than you.
I have stories, but I got stories. That could be for another one.
Thanks for watching again. Thanks to all our patrons out there putting up with this weirdness. Now you know a little bit more, everybody.
The idiotic banter.
Yeah, now you know. Okay. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Oh man, how am I gonna shut this off without greasing?
Well, you know what I do? I just grease it.
You suck it up, Buttercup? Is
No.
that what you do?
I just get it dirty.
They suction themselves. Oh, well, I'm. What can I do? Okay. Well, bye, everybody. Bye.